Your parents bought homes, raised families, and built a future with ordinary jobs. Today, millions of people earn more money than their parents ever did. Yet, they can't afford the same life. So what happened? Where did the middle class go? And could you be the next person pushed out of it? Welcome back to Tomorrow Explaining. Today, we're discussing something that millions of people can feel, even if they don't fully understand it: the disappearance of the middle class. For decades, people believed that if you worked hard, got an education, and stayed out of trouble, life would gradually improve. Yet today, many people are working harder than ever while feeling financially stuck. To help us understand why, I'm joined by economist and author Daniel Bowman. Daniel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ashley. It's good to be here.
Daniel, let's start with the big question. Is the middle class actually disappearing, or is that just something people say online because they're frustrated?
It's a real phenomenon. The important detail is that the middle class isn't vanishing overnight. It's being squeezed. Imagine a bridge. For generations, that bridge connected working-class families to a comfortable life: a home, a car, savings, retirement. Today, that bridge still exists, but crossing it has become much more difficult.
What changed?
Several things changed at the same time: globalization, automation, technology, housing costs, education costs, healthcare costs. Individually, none of these would be enough. Combined, they created pressure from every direction.
Let's talk about housing, because that seems to be one of the biggest complaints everywhere.
Housing is perhaps the clearest example. 30 or 40 years ago, a family could often purchase a home using one primary income. Today, in many cities, even two incomes struggle to achieve the same goal. The average person doesn't compare prices to salaries. They compare lifestyles. And that's where the frustration begins.
Meaning?
A young professional today may technically earn more money than their parents earned at the same age, but when they look around, they see that their parents bought a house at 28, raised children, had savings, went on vacations. Meanwhile, they are renting a small apartment and carrying debt. That creates a feeling of moving backward.
Even if their paycheck is larger.
Exactly. People don't measure success in dollars. They measure it in possibilities.
That's an interesting way to put it. People measure possibilities, not income.
Because possibilities are what money is really supposed to buy: freedom, security, options. If income rises but options shrink, people feel poorer.
One thing I see online is people blaming corporations. Others blame governments. Others blame immigrants. Others blame technology. Who's actually responsible?
That's the wrong question. People want a villain. Economics rarely provides one. The middle class wasn't weakened by a single decision. It was weakened by thousands of decisions over decades. Companies optimized for efficiency. Governments accumulated debt. Consumers borrowed more. Technology accelerated everything. No single person created the problem.
So there isn't one enemy.
Not really. The real enemy is complexity. People prefer simple explanations because they're emotionally satisfying. Reality is much messier.
Let's talk about jobs, because AI is now becoming part of this conversation. Many people watching this channel worry that artificial intelligence could make things even worse.
It could, but not in the way most people imagine. Historically, technology destroyed certain jobs while creating entirely new industries. The concern today is speed. Changes are happening faster than people can adapt.
Why is that different this time?
Imagine spending 10 years mastering a profession, then discovering that software can perform half your tasks in seconds. That doesn't necessarily eliminate your job, but it reduces your bargaining power, and bargaining power is what determines wages.
So the danger isn't necessarily unemployment. It's becoming easier to replace.
Precisely. And when workers become easier to replace, wages stagnate. Meanwhile, the value created by technology flows toward the owners of that technology.
Which helps explain why wealth seems increasingly concentrated.
Exactly. Many people believe society is becoming divided into two groups: people who own assets and people who sell their time. That distinction is becoming more important every year.
That's a powerful statement. People who own assets versus people who sell time. Can you explain that?
Certainly. A person selling time earns money only while working. A person owning assets can earn money while sleeping. Businesses, stocks, real estate, intellectual property, software. Those assets generate value repeatedly. Over decades, that difference becomes enormous.
So the gap grows automatically.
Very often, yes. Which is why many middle-class families feel trapped. Their income depends entirely on continuing to work. Any interruption creates financial stress, and stress changes behavior.
How so?
People stop taking risks. They postpone starting businesses. They delay having children. They delay home ownership. Eventually, they begin accepting survival as success. And that's a major psychological shift.
Survival as success. That's a depressing idea.
It is, but recognizing the problem is the first step toward solving it.
What do you mean by solving it? Because when people hear conversations like this, they often walk away feeling powerless, like the game is already rigged.
That's understandable, but history suggests something important. The rules of the economy are always changing. The people who struggle most are often those trying to succeed using yesterday's rules.
Can you give an example?
Certainly. Imagine graduating from college in 1985. A degree alone could open many doors. Large corporations hired for long careers. Pensions were common. Job security was stronger. The path was relatively clear. Study, work, get promoted, retire. Today, that path is far less predictable.
So education isn't enough anymore?
Education still matters, but credentials alone no longer guarantee prosperity. The market rewards adaptability much more aggressively than before. Knowledge becomes outdated faster. Industries change faster. Technology changes faster. Everything moves faster.
I think that's something many young people feel. No matter how hard they work, they can never catch up.
Because many of them are running on a treadmill that keeps accelerating. The harder they run, the faster the treadmill moves. Housing becomes more expensive. Insurance becomes more expensive. Childcare becomes more expensive. Transportation becomes more expensive. Their effort increases, but the finish line moves further away.
Then why do some people seem to thrive in the exact same environment?
Because they stop playing one game and start playing another. Most people focus entirely on income. The wealthy often focus on ownership. That's a very different mindset.
Ownership of what?
Anything that can produce value repeatedly. A business, a website, software, investments, real estate, intellectual property, even a personal brand. The specifics matter less than the principle. Ownership scales. Labor usually doesn't.
That's interesting. Because social media has created opportunities that didn't exist 20 years ago.
Exactly. A teacher can reach millions. A designer can sell products globally. A writer can build an audience. Technology has concentrated wealth, but it has also democratized opportunity. Both statements are true.
Most headlines focus on the first part, not the second.
Fear attracts attention. Opportunity requires effort. Guess which one gets more clicks?
Fair point. Let's talk about something controversial. Many people say their parents had it easier. Do you agree?
In some ways, yes. In other ways, no. The mistake is assuming every generation faces the same challenges. Your grandparents faced challenges that would shock modern audiences. Wars, economic crises, limited healthcare, limited information, hard physical labor. But when it came to building wealth, some advantages were undeniably greater. Affordable housing, lower education costs, less competition from global markets. Those advantages mattered.
So when young people complain, they're not necessarily imagining things.
No, many of their concerns are legitimate. The danger comes when frustration becomes an excuse for inaction. Understanding the problem is useful. Blaming the problem forever is not.
That's a distinction people often miss.
Very often. You can acknowledge that the system is difficult without believing that success is impossible. Those are two completely different conclusions.
Let's explore another concern. Many people believe the rich are getting richer while everyone else falls behind. Is that actually true?
Broadly speaking, yes. But once again, the details matter. Most wealth growth comes from assets, not wages. When stock markets rise, when businesses grow, when property values increase, asset owners benefit. Workers primarily relying on salaries benefit far less. That's why wealth gaps widen over time.
So even if salaries rise, assets often rise faster.
Exactly. And compound growth magnifies that difference. A small gap today becomes a massive gap 30 years later.
Do you think we're heading toward a future with only rich people and poor people? No middle class at all?
No. I don't believe the middle class will disappear completely, but I do believe it will evolve. The traditional middle class was built around stable employment. The future middle class may be built around flexibility, multiple income streams, digital skills, ownership, adaptability, different foundation, same goal.
That's actually more optimistic than I expected.
I'm realistic. Pessimism is easy. Optimism without evidence is foolish. But history repeatedly shows that people adapt. They always have.
Then let's imagine someone watching right now. 30 years old, working full-time, living paycheck to paycheck. What should they do first?
First, stop waiting for certainty. Certainty rarely arrives. Second, invest in skills that remain valuable even when industries change. Communication, sales, leadership, problem solving, adaptability. Third, begin building something you own, even if it's small. the size matters less than the habit.
Because ownership changes how you think.
Exactly. Once you own something, even something tiny, you start viewing the economy differently. You stop asking only, who will hire me, and start asking, what value can I create? That shift is powerful.
What do you think is the biggest mistake people make?
Believing that the future will look like the past. Most economic pain comes from outdated expectations. People spend years waiting for the world to become what it used to be. Meanwhile, the world continues moving forward.
So adaptation is the real advantage.
Always has been, always will be. The strongest species survive because they adapt. The strongest businesses survive because they adapt. The strongest individuals survive because they adapt. Economics is no different.
Daniel, before we finish, I want to ask one final question. When you look at the future, are you hopeful?
I am. Not because the future will be easy, but because humanity has overcome far greater challenges than rising housing costs and technological disruption. Every generation believes it is witnessing the end of opportunity, and every generation eventually discovers new opportunities. The future belongs neither to the rich nor the poor. It belongs to the adaptable.
Daniel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ashley. It's been a pleasure.
The middle class may be changing. The economy may be changing. Technology may be changing. But one thing hasn't changed: your ability to learn, adapt, and create value. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe to Tomorrow Explaining, and we'll see you in the next episode.